Okay, so have you ever, stopped to think about, I don't know, the surprisingly complex world of tissue paper?
Not exactly something that keeps me up at night.
Right, me neither. But someone out there is thinking about it because they sent us these RoleCatcher excerpts, and now we are too.
Definitely not our usual territory. So what's the story?
We're talking about the oh-so-important job of a tissue paper perforating and rewinding operator. And honestly, way more interesting than it sounds.
Really? Tell me more.
These RoleCatcher pieces go deep.
Yeah.
We've got the rundown on the job itself, a glimpse into the whole industry, and even some tips on how to totally ace the interview.
Okay, see, now that's useful no matter what. You've piqued my curiosity, though. Tissue paper perforating, huh?
Right. So we're working with the career guide that breaks down the role, some info on using RoleCatcher for interview prep, and then a look at their job search tools in general. You ready to dive in?
Lead the way. Where do we even start with something like this?
Well, let's unroll this career guide first.
Yeah.
What really struck me was the level of detail they go into. It's not just some vague description. They actually paint a picture of what this job looks like in action.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm always curious about those details that nobody really talks about.
And it's those details that are so interesting. For example, the guy talks a lot about the precision involved. It's not just about watching paper go by. It's about ensuring the machine is running perfectly, monitoring that whole perforation and rewinding process.
I never would have thought of that, but it makes sense. Like there's a real skill involved. Not just anyone could do that.
Exactly. And it's not a desk job either, right? It's physical. They're on their feet, potentially in a noisy environment. It really challenges your preconceived notions about what it means to work in a factory.
So we're talking skilled labor here. That's interesting. And the guy did mention automation. How does that play into all of this?
All right, so that's where it gets really fascinating.
Yeah.
On one hand, operators need to stay updated on the latest technology, right? But then there's this whole other issue of automation potentially replacing jobs.
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It's like this constant tension technology keeps advancing, but what happens to the workforce?
It really makes you think differently about those typical pros and cons lists. I mean, the guide mentions high demand for these roles and steady work, which sounds good on the surface. But you've got the repetitive tasks, maybe not the most glamorous environment to work in.
It's all about trade-offs, right? Every job has them. But I do think these kinds of deep dives are so valuable, they force us to look at different types of work, the good and the bad.
For sure. It's easy to glamorize certain jobs and dismiss others, but this guide really highlights the nuances. So what stands out to you? Anything challenging your own assumptions about manufacturing today? It's easy to get kind of, I don't know, fixated on the job itself, but I'm really curious about the bigger picture.
Now you're speaking my language. This isn't just about like rolls of tissue paper, right?
Yeah.
It's about how this one job fits into this whole massive industry.
Exactly. And we can't talk about an industry without, thinking about how it's changing.
Yeah, like the whole sustainability thing, right? Everyone's
Yeah.
talking about recycled materials these days.
Totally. And the guide does touch on that, but it feels almost like a side note when it's really huge.
Huge, for sure. Think about it. Consumer demand for like eco-friendly everything. It's totally changing how industries operate.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
This ripple effect. Speaking of which, the career stages section, did you get to that?
Yeah, I was just looking at that. It's actually kind of cool how they lay out a whole career path, starting with, our tissue paper operator.
It's you can start there, but it doesn't have to end there, which I think is really cool to show people.
For sure, it shows that even a job that seems, I don't know, maybe not super glamorous at first, can actually turn into a real career.
Right. They map it out from entry level, where you're basically becoming one with the machine.
Getting that hands-on experience.
Exactly. To junior level, where you're running multiple machines, training new hires.
Taking on more responsibility.
And then, get this, they even have a senior level.
At that point, you're basically the conductor of the whole operation.
Right. Developing procedures, working with a maintenance crew, even analyzing data. It's pretty impressive.
It's a totally different skill set by that point.
Okay, listener, I got to ask, are you picturing yourself in this job yet? Would you want to work your way up to a senior tissue paper, perforating, and rewinding operator? What does that tell you about, your own work style?
It's such a good point. Choosing a career, it's not just about finding a job title you like. It's about understanding what you would actually be doing day to day.
Totally. But Okay, I don't want to skip ahead too far. We still have those RoleCatcher excerpts about interview prep, which
Even if tissue paper isn't your thing.
exactly. These resources seem super useful for, well, everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Acing the interview, no matter what the job is super important.
And RoleCatcher, they don't mess around with their sample questions. One that really stood out to me, can you explain the process of tissue paper, perforating, and rewinding? Like, could you just answer that off the top of your head?
Honestly, probably not. But I think they're trying to gauge more than just like, did you memorize the company website?
That's what I was thinking. They want to see how you think on your feet.
Exactly. And can you communicate clearly? Do you actually care about, even something like tissue paper?
And the best part is, they actually give you guidance on how to answer those questions. It's like a cheat sheet, but for, like, acing your interview.
They break it down, what they're really looking for in your answer. So for that process question, maybe they're seeing how you handle problem solving or if you understand quality control. It's all about reading between the lines.
It's true. Whether you're just starting out in your career or you've been doing this for years, interview skills are so important, which is where I think those AI-powered practice tools come in.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about
So,
those.
like, you can record yourself answering questions, get feedback on how you sound, even tailor your answers to specific jobs. It's wild.
It's like having your own personal interview coach.
Seriously. And in today's job market, like, any edge you can get is huge.
For sure. You got to be prepared. You got to stand out.
That's the name of the game these days. Okay, but let's talk about the other job search tools they offer, because I feel like this is especially relevant for our learner listeners, the ones always looking for an edge.
Oh, for sure. RoleCatcher seems like it's designed for people who love to learn new things.
And they clearly get it, like how overwhelming job searching can be.
It used to be all about those massive job boards and just like sending your resume out into the void.
Right. But RoleCatcher, it's like they said, okay, how do we simplify this?
Like Marie Kondoing your job search. Love it.
I know. One feature that stood out to me, their RoleCatcher.capture plugin. So imagine this.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
You're on LinkedIn, Indeed, wherever, and you see a job you might be interested in. Boom. One click, it's saved to your RoleCatcher dashboard.
No more like copying and pasting links into a document somewhere and then forgetting about it a week later.
Exactly. And no more disorganized spreadsheets. It's all right there.
Game changer. Especially if you're applying to a lot of jobs.
Right. And then remember the skills analysis we were talking about for our tissue paper friends. They have that for any job.
You're kidding?
Nope. It breaks down the specific skills needed, and then it tells you how well your resume matches up.
That's amazing. So you know exactly what to tweak.
It's like having someone literally highlight the best parts of your resume for each job.
That would be incredible.
Right. And remember the interview practice tools we were geeking out about? Those are built right in.
No way, seriously.
So you can go from researching a job to updating your resume to practicing your answers all in one place. They've really thought of everything.
That's wild. But okay, there's got to be a downside, right? Like, what's the catch with all of this?
Okay, so the best kind of catch, a lot of it is free.
Seriously. You're kidding.
I know, right? Of course, there are paid options if you want even more features, but the fact that they offer so much for free is amazing.
It shows that they're not just trying to like get your money, they actually want to help people find jobs.
Totally. And it makes it really accessible, especially for people who are maybe just starting out in their careers or who are like constantly learning and upskilling.
And it's kind of funny how we got here. We started talking about tissue paper, of all things.
And now we're like career gurus.
It just goes to show you can learn something new from anything if you're willing to look for it.
I love that. And that's the beauty of a deep dive, right? You never know where you'll end up.
Yeah.
Okay, but hold on a sec. I got to know, what's the catch with all these amazing free features? There's got to be a catch, right?
You're going to love this catches. There really isn't one. Well, not a bad one anyway. A lot of it is totally free. They do have those premium options, for the folks who really want to go all in on their job search. But it's awesome that they give you so much for free up front.
Right. That's always a good sign. Like, it shows they actually care about helping people, not just, making a quick buck.
Absolutely. It's refreshing to see a company that's genuinely invested in empowering job seekers.
And that's huge, especially for people who are just starting out, or those who are all about constantly learning new things and leveling up their skill set, which, let's be real, describes a lot of our listeners.
Totally. It's like this deep dive has been a masterclass in unexpected connections. We started with tissue paper, of all things, and look where we ended up.
It's a wild ride, that's for sure.
But seriously, I think it just goes to show that you can find these amazing connections everywhere if you're open to it.
I love that. Like, don't underestimate the power of a good deep dive.
Never underestimate the power of curiosity.
Well said. And on that note, a huge thank you to everyone listening for coming along on this journey with us. Especially to the listener who sent in this topic proof that no idea is too niche for a good deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, keep those questions coming, and who knows what we'll uncover together.